And for all the homeless people out there who are gaining and gaining in numbers, hold on, check my text. This went off my last video and I forgot to take a peek at it. See my buddy Jason, guy got 3 Ethereum. Jason, you wanna go to lunch today? See what's up. Anyways, the homeless population, it's exploding. You cannot tell me, yeah, but the economy's fine and this is fine. All of it can't be fine if there's so many people becoming homeless. More homeless than ever before, practically. Now, you might, oh, Great Depression. No. That's why I said practically. Like, in any recent kind of time frame, that's no, a few decades, we haven't seen the homeless like this. Oh, unemployment's down, 4%. GDP revised a double revision higher today. Wait a minute, next month, double revision down. Oh, never mind. Homeless explosion. Tech boom. Surging rents create homeless crisis at America's West Coast. Oh, you're not gonna tell me it's another liberal California story. Possibly. Oh, wait a minute. America's liberal left west. I didn't say west. Just America's liberal left coast states count themselves among the most adamant supporters of controversial pieces of legislation intended to support low-income families. From their stunningly high income tax rates to their $15 minimum wage mandates, states like California and Washington are leading the charge on implementing Bernie's socialist agenda. Same Bernie who is now officially had the DNC stolen, the Democratic nominee nomination stolen from him. It's now official. Donna Brazile said so. Of course, some of the biggest advocates of that socialist agenda are the billionaires, the leaders of Silicon Valley's largest tech companies, which is precisely why it's so ironic that it's the tech boom being enjoyed by those billionaires that has resulted in surging housing prices and what SFGate described earlier today as a homeless explosion, pushing West Coast cities to the brink. Remember the other day I said, "Hey, this is interesting. This is an interesting story I want to tell you about." Google is building more office space, technically, really high-rise from what I understand, but they're creating like apartment space. And I said, no, one of two things: they're capitalizing on the high rents, or, and I said at the end, I think this is really what they're going to do, or they're gearing up to put their employees and let the employees rent at a very decent price, pay the rent to Google, so that they can also pay the employee less instead of this super high salaries just to make ends meet, to pay some other schmuck landlord somewhere or whatever, buy a house, pay us rent in the building. We own the whole damn thing. It's 50 stories. We got a couple thousand units here. Here you go. Pay us rent. It's decent rent. We don't have to pay you the high salary. It all works out. Yada yada yada. Right? Remember that? Housing prices are soaring here thanks to the tech industry, but the boom comes with a consequence. A surge in homelessness marked by 400 unauthorized tent camps in parks, under bridges, on freeway medians, and alongside busy sidewalks. What's that? You thought this was France with the immigrants coming in from Northern Africa? No, soon there'll be people with cameras walking around here thinking, where are those schmucks from? Oh, those are other Americans. Ooh. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't mean schmuck. I meant consumer. I mean taxpayer. I mean citizen. Citizen. You feel proud to be a citizen? Living in your tent over there? I bet. Liberalism. Find a cure. Mark Dice shirt. I'm waiting. I'm dying for the shirt to come in. Liberalism. Find an effing cure. Doesn't say that, but close. The liberal city is trying to figure out what to do. I've got economically zero unemployment in my city, and I've got thousands of homeless people that actually are working and just can't afford housing, said Seattle City Councilman Mike O'Brien. There's nowhere for these folks to move to. Well, they could always do what the Mexicans do over here that I've seen down here in Florida. They shack up with each other, 2-3 families in one house, they all pay the bills, good deal. Now, of course, you're going to find some stranger. They've got their dog. Got to bring my dog. Dog's crapping on your carpet. pissing on the floor. He didn't have, they didn't train the dog right. You got to get rid of the dog. I don't want to get rid of my dog. It's like a family member, but we're living in a house together. We're trying to make this work. We're all have jobs, but it's just. Could you imagine? It's like you're living in a damn prison. You got your guy you can share the bunkmate with. Who's this guy? Do I get to pick who's my bunkmate is? No. His name's Billy. Billy Bob. Or, from Joe Dirt, his name is Buffalo Bill. Name's Bill, or whatever he says. It's Bob, but people call me Buffalo Bill, or Buffalo Bob, whatever it is. What's your name? People call me Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt. It puts the lotion on the skin. That struggle is not Seattle's alone. A homeless crisis is rocking the entire West Coast, pushing abject poverty into the open like never before. So again, about these high house prices, they're just going to keep going up? Is that how this is going to go? If the answer is yes, which nothing would seem to even suggest that, because again, people are going to get behind again in default, then the only way to sustain that is universal basic income. Everybody gets an income, husband, wife, everyone gets one, which will then help them come up with funds so that they don't have to move in with strangers off the street and buy their own place. Oh, well, you make $1,000. I'm the husband. I make $1,000. My husband, wife, that's $2,000. Shoot, a month? Hey, we could certainly pay rent somewhere, or in California, half the rent, and then our paychecks will go to paying the regular part of the rent that used to be normal. That would work. But I did mention if that ever comes, everything else that's been really low in price, where people just haven't really made money, everything's going to go up in price to now eat away that $2,000 that family's getting in extra income. So you'll be stuck back again, higher priced cars, higher priced goods, higher priced everything, and we're going to be back in square one. And then they're going to say, well, I guess we're going to have to give everybody a raise on the basic income, universal basic income. Now we're doubling it. Now you're going to get $4,000 a month instead of $2,000, right? Instead of just letting the whole damn thing collapse, equilibrium, it'll all figure itself out. Of course, that does mean the boom and bust cycle comes, and the bust cycle comes, it comes at the wrong time in your life, and it hurts. It's painful. You may lose everything you have. You may lose your dream house, but it's because of the particular kind of financial system that's ancient. We just can't seem to get away from, because every time we try to, the banksters stop it, dead, cent, fronter, cent, gone. No, there'll be no legislation. There'll be no auditing the Fed. There'll be no changing the fractional reserve system. There'll be no changing the borrowing of money into existence. But we never print the principal for you to pay back, or the interest. We only give you the principal plus interest attached, but we never print the interest for you to pay it back. So you got to borrow more to pay back the original interest, but now there's new interest attached. So we need you to borrow more, which is why the national debt just never seems to come down. It can only go up. Now, where was I? Nationally, homelessness has been trending down, partly because governments and nonprofit groups have gotten better at moving people into housing. That's true in many West Coast cities too, but the flow the other direction is even faster. So everybody who was just hanging on because they had cheap rent, they're losing that. And they wind up outside, said Margaret King, Director of Housing Programs for the nonprofit DESC in Seattle. It's just exploded, she said. According to stats gathered by the Associated Press, some 168,000 people in California, Oregon, and Washington count themselves among the growing tally of homeless folks who can't afford housing. These people have jobs. They have jobs and they still can't afford to live somewhere. That's sustainable. We're going in a good direction. Official counts taken earlier this year in California, Oregon, and Washington again show 168,000 homeless people in 3 states, according to an AP tally of every jurisdiction in those states that reports homeless numbers to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. So in other words, they got to give you the real numbers. We can't estimate it based on, the birth-death model or the people stop looking for jobs. We don't count them anymore as anything. Maybe the people who used to live in this tent city, they moved to another tent city, so we don't count them anymore. Nope, because that tent city counts too. So they can't get away from this statistic. That is 19,000 more than were counted in 2015, although the numbers may not be directly comparable because of factors ranging from the weather to New counting methods. Oh, I wonder what those are. New counting methods, meaning we need to show that this is lowering. The numbers are slowing, not getting greater. New accounting. We'll just do what the Federal Reserve has done over the last 20 years. Things we used to study for inflation and stuff, we've changed the metric 20 different times. Because the next year, if we use the metric we used the previous year, it would show inflation that we don't want to show. So we just change it to something else. We look at butterflies. We look at license plates. How many leaves fall on the ground to determine inflation? 2%? Nope. Four leaves fell in the span of 1 minute over here in Florida. We're about 1.5% inflation. We need to trick all that just a little. We want to be around 2%. Yeah. What's your methods? We look at leaves falling off a tree, and if there's Groundhog's Day, we look at if squirrels come down and dig in a certain spot, and how many acorns they actually pull up in one swoop. One little hole. If there's 2, it's 2%. If it's 1, it's 1%. If there's 1 and then a broken one, that's 1.5%. That's what we're kind of shooting for. Okay. During the same period, the number of unsheltered people in the 3 states climbed 18% to 105,000. Rising rents are the main culprit. The median one-bedroom apartment in the San Francisco Bay Area is more expensive than it is in New York City metro area, for instance. Since 2015, at least 10 cities or municipal regions in California, Oregon, Washington have declared emergencies due to the rise of homelessness, a designation usually reserved for natural disasters. Of course, when home prices double in a matter of just a few years and are seemingly just as volatile as tech stocks circa March 2000, before the tech boom, there's a problem. Meanwhile, as we pointed out a few weeks ago, San Diego's deadly hepatitis A outbreak turns statewide epidemic, as outbreak could last years. The homeless crisis in California has resulted in an alarming hepatitis A outbreak that started in San Diego. San Diego Superchargers. And is now on the verge of reaching statewide epidemic status as cases have spread through homeless tent cities all the way north to Sacramento. When the sun comes up on Sacramento Boulevard. Or maybe that was a different boulevard. California's outbreak of hepatitis A, already the nation's second largest in the last 20 years, could continue for many months, even years, health officials say. At least 569 people have been affected, and 17 have died of the virus since November. Since November? November what? Of this year? Last year? What are you talking about? Anyway, so, of course, as SF Gate points out, local governments on the West Coast are responding to the crisis in the best way they know how, namely by raising taxes. All along the West Coast, local governments are scrambling for answers, and taxpayers are footing the bill. Voters have approved more than $8 billion in spending since 2015 on affordable housing and other anti-homelessness programs, mostly as tax increases. Los Angeles, so in other words, the people who are getting the bounty of these high rents and high property prices, the few, they're being subsidized by the government, by us taxpayers, in this case the California taxpayers. Not, let's let the damn prices come down and let these people default and let crap happen that's supposed to happen, and then we'll see what the price really belongs at. No, let's keep feeding these people these exorbitant prices, and they can do more real estate programs. Come in, I'll show you how to flip houses. I'm going to show you how to flip houses like the best. You are? You can show me how to flip houses? Yeah. And then I'm going to compete with everybody in this room and everybody else in the other seminar you've ever done? Yes. And we're going to be fighting over property, paying more than we probably should? Yes. And then selling said property for more than we should probably sell it for? Yes. And then we'll be contributing to the homeless people problem. Yes. Bingo. I'm Jason at 4, and I'm not sure what planet I'm on right now. Take care.